This is the machine. Now, pull these little spring pegs up and the bucket lifts off. And it's a hefty bucket. There's also a forklift forks that can be used, and you can see that in my shorts video here. Now this machine weighs 20 kilos or so. It's quite heavy. I've got to be careful here, but underneath there's a brushless motor, and the gearbox is in there as well. And each of your wheels attaches to a very hefty diff. Okay, this is metal, but the top bits here, they're 3D printed. Not a big deal. I'm running with a 5 amp battery. Now that's what greets you inside. So you've got your brushless motor, that's for your hydraulic pump. So you can, when it runs, you can see the pressure goes up. I've got it set to 2.5 megapascals. The servos here, each valves in a hydraulic block, and it sends oil, hydraulic oil, to and from your each end of the cylinder. So if you want to run this right now, hang on, pick it up, there we go. So fluid's being pumped in here, which moves the plunger down, and then now fluid's coming out of there and coming into this one, and that's happening through this block here. So two things happen when I'm doing this. First thing that happens is the pump runs, and the second thing that happens is the servo opens the correct valve, and all the oil goes through the pump, and then whichever valve opens, there's a block down underneath, it sends oil in or out of the respective cylinder. And you've got two more cylinders down here, one on each side, that does the lifting. So it's the same deal as this guy, except they're both down there. And for steering, it's also hydraulically actuated, or the cylinder for that rather is underneath. There's one on each side. So they're smaller yellow ones. There's one on the left and one on the right, and they work together to steer. So there are no steering wheels here. It's just you're telling the hydraulic system to go one way or the other. Now the cab's kind of cool. The door opens on each side, and the little dude in there, my guy came with a motocross helmet for reasons I do not understand, but I've left it on because that's his head. The seat just kind of sits there magnetically attached. You can lift it off if you want to, but I won't. And he's just hot glued on, so that's all that is. And the interior is 3D printed as well. So it's a curious mix of engineered pieces and 3D printed parts, but it definitely works, and it's lovely and heavy. Nicely. You don't have to use such a big battery, although they advise it. I think you get away with something half the size, honestly, as long as it's 3S, 12 volt. There we go. And this is just heavy iron. It's like a counterweight, and it goes all the way back in underneath. It's a very heavy plate, which allows the front to pick up a lot of weight without this, without it toppling. And last of all, there's your little light. and that's controlled with this. The model came in a very solid case. It was cardboard and foam, but very well packed. And everything was set up ready to go, so you just need to supply your own battery in my case. There are some vendors out there that give you a battery and charger option as well for a bit more money. The paint job is finished nicely and the tyres are super solid. Overall, it's a really fun model to play with. I have several excavators and I'll show you one of my hydraulic excavators soon, but the wheel loader itself, whether you're using it as a lifter or with its bucket to dig and move hay around, it's really fun. The Fly Sky controller is becoming ubiquitous with these kind of machines. There we go. It didn't have to be a touchscreen, but that's what they've done. I don't mind. Once it's set up, and it comes set up already, you can reverse some of the channels if you like, as long as you get the endpoints adjusted. The hydraulics work, but the motor doesn't run unless the engine's on. And then you can drive. And well, this is done electronically, but that switch there gives you high and low speed, so to speak. The sound box revs higher and you get a higher speed, whereas on that you get higher resolution and your max speed is much lower, which is good for manipulating your bucket. It's quite a clever system. As a model, it's quite fun to use. I really have started to enjoy the construction side of things, so I'm looking forward to playing some more. And I will use this as I build things up. Throw me a like if this was an interesting little jaunt into construction stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT.